You know, since the Republican Party's national convention has come to a close, I've made a couple of videos where I've talked about Donald Trump and his candidacy for president. I've analyzed and talked about his fiery speech on the closing night, at least from my perspective as a business owner. But as I mentioned in my first video, I also wanted to come back and share some commentary just in general about the Republican Party. You know, I'm a black Republican, and despite the fact that it's getting tougher and tougher to admit that in public these days, it's something that I still remain very proud of. I'm someone who really values the culture of the party. I've always thought that our history and the way we were founded and just some of the great accomplishments of the grand old party is something I've always been attracted to. And I've always been someone that's been very vocal about the history of the Democratic Party and a lot of reasons why I don't support their party. Not necessarily that I don't support their candidates. I just don't support their party and what they were founded on. But you know, I have to say this. I am a little disappointed in my party after the pep rally that we had last week in Cleveland. And let me just share why. And I understand that for some of you this will be a tough pill to swallow. But I think right now it's more important than ever that Republicans stand up and that we speak out about some of the things that are happening in our party right now. I know that there is a fissure that has emerged in our party, and it's very important that if we want to protect the integrity of our party, that all of us stand up and we speak and voice our opinion. And you know, one of the things that I will be honest with you that I was turned off by last week, you know, we've always been the party of ideas. And last week was essentially a barrage against Hillary Clinton. And there was no sharing of ideas. There was no sharing of a vision for America. There was no sharing of how we plan to help a lot of ordinary individuals and families to overcome some struggles that they're going through day to day, how we plan to make their lives easier, government smaller, so that they may be able to unleash their full potential. It really felt like we are no longer the party of ideas, and that we hope to win the White House back by bashing Hillary Clinton, focusing on the fact that she has this email thing going on. You know, we used to be the party of fiscal responsibility, and you know, this year we've got a presidential candidate that is clearly will grow the size of government unneedlessly, may be more of a runaway spender than the current person that we have in the White House, Mr. Obama. And it almost feels like none of us are holding him accountable to some of these proposals and these policy ideas that he's floating, with no mention whatsoever how he plans to pay for it in an environment where the national debt is currently $19 trillion. You know, we used to be the party of hope. And what I heard from Mr. Trump on the closing night of the convention wasn't morning in America, it was midnight in America. And I think it's, quite frankly, I just think it's a shame. Right now, the majority of states in this country are controlled by Republican governors, and they are controlled by Republican state legislatures. And to listen to Mr. Trump's dark description of what's going on in this country, it's almost, quite frankly, it's a black eye on the Republican lawmakers and state leaders around the country that have been working very hard to keep their streets safe and to make sure that the people in their community are well taken care of. You know, quite frankly, here in North Carolina, I don't see the kind of things happening in my community and in my neighborhood that Mr. Trump described. And I feel like if our strategy is to win this election based on fear, that's a flawed strategy. We've always been the party of hope. We've always been the party that believed tomorrow was going to be better than today. And we've always done a better job of describing tomorrow and helping people to believe and engage with tomorrow better than the Democrats. And and it's something that, quite frankly, attracted me to this party more than 20 years ago. So I feel like we have to be careful about how we go about doing, or how we go about winning this election. Will we abandon our own moral code and our culture simply to try to win another election? And you know, we used to be the party of service above self. And, you know, to hear Mr. Trump talk about the shrinking role that we will take in the world, you know, it almost sounds like he doesn't quite believe that America should be a world superpower. I'm someone who believes the opposite. I think that we are the greatest country on earth. I feel like we have done some amazing and incredible things in our short 200 plus year history. And I feel like because of the culture and the way we go about doing things here, our belief in life, liberty, freedom, the pursuit of happiness, we are in a role of leadership, and we have somewhat, in my opinion, a moral obligation to lead the world and to spread the principles that have made this such a great country to other countries that are willing to accept those principles. And when I hear Mr. Trump talk about us taking a smaller role in the world, becoming more of an isolationist, I think that's a world that I would rather not live in. We've always been the party of diversity. And we certainly love to talk about 1865 and 1964. But the reality is there are a number of African American and Hispanic voters that are wondering, what are we going to do for them today? And what did we do for them yesterday? And what I saw last week at that convention, what was noticeably missing was a lot of black and brown faces. And when the Democratic National Convention kicks off officially tomorrow, it will be something that you will see. You will see the diversity there. And I think that the diversity is important because this country is diverse. And I feel like our party has to represent that. I've never been shy about admitting that I'm a Colin Powell Republican. I'm a Michael Steele Republican. I'm not ultra conservative. And I certainly believe that our party has a lot to offer minority voters. But we have to be more serious about how we go about engaging these voters. And when we have a convention where the number of African Americans attending the convention is at a 20-year low, you know, I just feel like that's a sad place for our party to be in. You know, I was really happy to see my national committee woman right here from North Carolina, Dr. Ada Fisher, who was able to make comments on behalf of the North Carolina delegation. And I was happy to see her there. And I was happy to see her there for herself and on behalf of African American women. But noticeably missing from that convention, and noticeably missing from the stage, Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell, Michael Steele, Senator Tim Scott, the only African American in the Senate, and he happens to be a Republican, and he wasn't speaking at the convention. Now, I just want to say, you know, I'm not ready to burn my GOP card quite yet, because again, I believe in our party. I believe in our history. I believe in our culture. I believe in our principles. And I believe that we can still lead this country to prosperity, that we can help communities transform, that we can help people to transform with the approach that we have in this country. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to tighten up. And if we want minority voters, and quite frankly, if we just want independents to still feel like we are the party of fiscal responsibility, the party of ideas, the party of diversity, the party of service above self, we're going to have to do a lot better. Stay locked in.